Welcome, YouTube. Welcome, everyone. And with a heavy heart, I say that this is the last Thursday, and I have to say I'm going to miss Thursday. So I think let's make it a good one. So, Koki, how are you enjoying your Thursday?
The Thursday is with me, and it will always be in my heart. May this Thursday go on forever in our memories.
Oh man, and Gunderson, what are you wearing under your kilt?
What do you think?
Good answer. And but also hope your Thursday is going well.
Well, just fuck all's happened today, to be honest.
Okay, and you, James, can you feel the Thursday?
Oh, the great holy donkey blesses the Thursday as Thor rides upon her back.
Aha. And Dee, may the power of Thursday be with you.
I like Thursdays.
Everybody likes Thursdays.
Not as good as Fridays, but better than Wednesdays.
Don't get me started on Wednesdays.
Ooh, but yes, well, and yet Arthur Dent said he never could get the hang of Thursdays. Well, what was his problem? But in any case, we've just watched a video linkified in the descriptionization, and so I recommend that the audience quickly watch that. It's only a minute or so. And, right, what I would take from that, other than, sorry if this sounds facetious, but I kind of think if you're doing certain things, you might want to wear clothes you don't give a shit about, but I suppose sometimes your parents are up to that. I would say, okay, sorry, but I mean, this video is about, girls being perhaps unconsciously, unintentionally discouraged from pursuing science education, and I think the criticism I would make of this advert is it shows that family and what they do to that child. I don't know how common that actually is. It doesn't actually show what, I suppose it would be very difficult in a 1-minute PSA, but what in society caused the parents to take that attitude. They also don't contrast it with them also having a son where they're not saying those things or they're saying very different. But in any case, I'm not completely knocking it. I'm just saying I've got a few nitpicks. It also was a PSA that didn't compare guns and dildos, which obviously is sorry. Okay, but going in the order. Oh, sorry, Dee, you weren't here for that bit, were you?
I know the video you're referring to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we did a segment on that earlier in the week.
Oh.
So, in the order I can see you, Coquipirate, what did you think of this video?
Well, I mean, yeah, like you said, there's things that we could pull it apart. Did it say give it to your brother because he's a boy, or was it because he was the older sibling? Would they have done the same thing with the boy? But I think that's besides the point. I mean, it's not even a message of don't do these things specifically. Because, a lot of times you might not want your kid to get dirty in the woods or whatever, but it's more of a sentiment of be conscientious of what you're telling your daughter, how you might be creating barriers for her to pursue careers in engineering. And, I'd imagine that this is a field that Verizon actually wants a lot of employees in, so they have a stake in, getting more girls involved in the sciences and whatnot. Didn't try to sell us a cell phone, though. But in any case, I think it's great that, it's warning us to be conscientious about what we're telling our girls. Are we trying to push them to stay clean and pretty and, not muddy their hands? Or are we creating an environment that fosters curiosity for them to explore and grow? And, I think it's an important message that, it applies to all of the children, but, girls, I think, suffer from this especially.
Yeah, if you're going to take a little girl to the beach, maybe you don't put her in it or let her wear a dress that you don't want to get dirty. But, yes, I went to the beach today, so I wore my best evening wear. Well, imagine if it were an adult saying that.
Yeah,
Well,
I know what you're getting at.
Yeah. Okay, Gunderson, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I will say with the part with the starfish, there is a potential, fucking around in the rock area is kind of a bit of a safety hazard. So, I mean, I don't know what was going on in that particular beach, but I suppose that was my only real criticism of that advert.
I suppose they would be less concerned if it were a boy anyway, but they're sort of like, oh, boys climb rocks and things.
Well, in that case, that's an example of they're doing the right thing with the daughter and not doing the right thing with the son.
Well, yeah.
So, anyway, I guess I agree, basically, with what you said, that they didn't contrast it enough with these other, the lesser barriers we provide young boys with. And, so, yeah, I think that's all I have to say, really.
Yeah, okay. And you, James, because we need the extremist, radical feminist, communist, the list goes on, viewpoint on this.
Oh, yes. Can you hear the picks being knitted? Oh, can you? Oh, the nitpick train has finally pulled out of the station. For the love of the great holy donkey, guys, that's the same kind of argument. Yes, you cannot put an entire sociology dissertation into a 1-minute PSA. You cannot put an entire thesis on rape and rape culture in a placard that you're holding in a rally. Let it go. The point is, this goes back to the latent bigotry that we were discussing on Monday. In that case, it was sexism and racism, xenophobia. In this case, again, sexism.
That feels like it was so long ago.
Well, it was 4 days ago. But the point being that girls just don't do certain things. Girls shouldn't do certain things. Girls are supposed to be quiet, play nice, and be pretty. Yes, we'll allow them to play with paper and glue, but when they start making rocket ships and space and start making the planets and so forth, that's getting a bit stupid. Don't waste your time with that, darling. Here, look at this new makeup kit I bought you, and so on and so forth. It's unconscious, and the problem is, like, just always seeing white faces on television to the point where it's a strange thing when we see a black face or an Asian face. It's the fact that it is the norm, the fact that it is so common in society that we hardly even notice it, let alone question it. I was really hurt at the end when, yes, it looked as if she was looking at the poster for the science fair, but no, she was just doing her makeup.
I noticed that subtle irony.
Yeah. I'm going to quickly, before I forget, so sorry, we'll get to you in a second, Dee.
Yeah, just ignore the woman in the... No, I know it's not. I know you guys aren't sexist. I am teasing.
I have an anecdote, actually, going back to my, I think, early teens, when my sister picked up the first of 2 science degrees that she would get in her life. Which was, she went to UMIST in Manchester. I forget what UMIST stands for, apart from S and T, obviously science and technology. M is presumably Manchester, but it's specifically and so she's, it's her graduation, and she's picking up her degree in physics, and the old professor guy, very stereotypical as I remember, as a sort of grey-haired man, posh voice, who gave the speech before everyone collected their diplomas, made a joke in his speech when he's talking about all the importance of all the achievements in in science and technology and what science and technology does to advance the world. And I dare say he went through all these wonderful things, all those contributions that science and technology have made to the world. And at the end, he looked, did this kind of look with this little coy smile and added, "And ladies, imagine a world without nylon." Later on, somebody would remark he's almost certainly been telling that he's had the same graduation speech for the past 20 years. It's like, well, people didn't care about that joke 20 years ago. So yeah. So just thought I'd throw that out there. And so, Dee, your thoughts?
Yes, the token. No, I'm only joking. I personally didn't think, especially with it being a 1-minute video, I didn't think it needed the comparison of how boys were treated. I got it straight away. I don't know if it's because I was a woman or because it's a generational thing. I mean, I don't know how genders are treated so much as children now, but I certainly, in my day, many decades ago, that there were definite gender assignments in what you did as a child.
Yeah.
Fortunately, my parents weren't particularly like that, but I certainly saw it in other families. And I did see this, like, oh, don't get yourself dirty, darling. Whereas boys will be boys. Oh, yeah, boys will be boys. Oh, God. Typical, look at them playing in the mud and getting all dirty. Oh, no, stay out of that. Oh, keep clean, darling. Don't mess your head. I have seen it, firsthand. I've also seen another, this is an extreme example, I admit, but I've seen an example where my friend at school, she had a twin brother and an older brother who did no chores at all in the house. Before she could come out, and not play, because we were 15, 16 at the time, before we could come out and socialise, she had to tidy her brother's bedroom. And I actually saw an instant where she tidied the bedroom, was about to leave, one of her brothers came back, couldn't find anything, so made a mess, sort of, you know how when you're looking for stuff, you just throw stuff around. She then had to tidy it again.
Right.
And I have, this is, and okay, we're going back to, that would have been the late 70s, early 80s, and that was an extreme case. I've not seen that happen with any other friends of mine, girlfriends of mine. But certainly in my day, there really was this kind of gender division of girls play with teddy bears and dolls, and boys play with guns, and the only dolls they play with is what Action Man, and girls dress this way and boys do this, and oh no, you don't want to do science, little darling. It really was. Like I say, I saw that video and I got it instantly. I knew where it was coming from.
Yeah.
And again, I think touching on what you, James, was saying, you don't see. It's rare that you see women in technology and stuff when you're watching films and what have you. It's nearly always the men doing specific jobs. It's changed a lot since I was a kid. And you get more you do get more women who are shown in these roles. Now you could argue, well, it's just reflecting society. Women don't do these jobs. Yeah, but is it a chicken and an egg thing here, mate? And I also know, certainly, and I don't know if this still happens, but certainly when I was a young lass, there was kind of like the brainy girls were teased far more than the brainy boys were. And they were made to feel self-conscious if they were bright, especially if they were brighter than any of the boys.
Okay, well, I'd like, if anyone else has anything to say, I'd like to open up the floor.
I guess with the last thing Dee said, at least in my, and I'm not saying, I guess, anything about the overall trend, but I mean, I guess in my experience, I don't know, let me try again. Basically, I guess being, maybe there would still be a gender, a sexism component if it was a woman that isn't present with a girl than if me being a boy in that. But at least at my school, being smart in general or intellectual was kind of looked down upon, because I live in a quite working class area, so basically any show of like intelligence was kind of seen as being a middle class toff, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah.
But would that be classism rather than sexism?
Yeah, I'm saying that, I guess in my experience, it was that kind of hostility towards intellectuality was a classism thing rather than sexism.
Just want to point out, though, Gunderson, that is the classic MRA argument. What, you're saying that?
I'm not saying that.
No, I'm just explaining the whole issue. If you'll give me a minute
you
to
mansplaining.
lay it all out. But the argument that what are you saying that a poor black man in the deep south who has etc is more privileged than a white woman who lives in a luxury penthouse apartment on Fifth Avenue? No, but his the black man's wife, sister, or what have you, is less privileged than him. So I also went to a very rough working class school where being able to speak proper English and getting anything more than 10% on your test results led to a vicious beating. But I know for a fact that any girl who tried to show an inkling of intelligence or independence or what have you was beaten down even more severely, socially and verbally, if not physically.
Okay, I guess I'm not really, because I didn't really have any friends, so people in general bullied me. So I never noticed how anyone else was treated, because I was treated so badly. I guess I'm not really thinking
I was treated the same way, but yes, I did notice girls. There was a TV show. This is moving on to another point that Dee was making, that we always see male scientists in movies, etc., etc., etc. It is a question of art reflecting society, but entertainment reflecting society, but also art and entertainment influencing society.
Yeah.
In turn, so. For example, there was a TV show called Malcolm in the Middle. It's a sitcom about a boy who's a genius. There was one episode he was partnered up in a school project with the ditzy blonde bimbo who's always giggling and who's the typical kind of LA blonde bimbo. To which, okay, if you want me to do this project for you, just I won't do the tests for you. Well, maybe if you pass me the sodium and the potassium, then I can get on with this part of the project. What, you mean you're smart? Yeah, really smart. To which one of her friends walks past. Oh, hi, Steve. The fact that she had to pretend to be stupid
gotcha.
in order to be in the...
I've seen that firsthand.
In order to fit in.
In order to fit in, in order to be part of the popular clique, she had to lie and pretend she was more stupid than she was. There was also a scene. There was also an entire subplot. This has been a subplot in multiple American TV shows, especially that I can remember. But one in which a girl is fawning over a guy and saying, Well, I can help you with your geometry homework if you want. Oh, thank you, that'd be good. To which the teacher passes her test back. A 97%, excellent work. Shh, don't tell him.
Yeah.
Because if he's the man, if he thinks he's better than her, then he feels superior, and she has an excuse to spend the night quote unquote studying with him. Yeah,
Right.
Also, yes, I know.
He's in an airport.
I know this is just another episode of You James Rambles, but finally, regarding fiction, Deep Space Nine, Cardassian female scientist comes onto the station, gives Chief O'Brien, human Starfleet engineer, nothing but lip, nothing but abuse. I never should have expected you to be able to handle this. What? Because you're a human? No, because you're a... What are you going to say? Because you're a man. Men can't handle science. You're too soon. You just don't have the brain for this kind of thing.
Yes, Star Trek's done a few things like that, hasn't it? Actually, on science fiction, one thing that came to mind. Guess what show I'm going to mention? Not because of something that was on the show.
Doctor Who?
Because you're psychic. I can remember reading, and I think it was in the 70s. That an education minister, don't ask me to name them, actually said that the BBC should make the next Doctor a woman because it would encourage girls to study science.
Sorry, did you finish or not? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay, go on.
I was going to say, I sometimes I hear the argument of, oh, well, you look back in history and what have women done in science? And I think, well, actually, if you really look, you'll find there are quite a number of women in science who have done a lot of stuff, Ada Lovelace.
Don't get credit for it.
You're using your computer, look up Ada Lovelace. But yeah, they don't get credit for it. But also, I mean, certainly back in the Victorian period where a vast amount of our inventions, because the interest in science was quite big back then. I'm sure there's a better way of putting that, but I'm tired. It's like, well, they were definitely discouraged. They were definitely supposed to be wives and mothers. Mm-hmm. So back in the time when these big inventions, these big breaks in science were coming through, women were definitely not supposed to be doing it. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of women out there who did invent things or who are fantastic mathematicians, and they have been forgotten. They are not mentioned. They are not recognized.
I think there was quite a long time ago, there was a Nobel Prize winner who was a woman. She was mentioned on QI, so I can't give you the era or the name. But yeah, there are definitely... I'm just going to throw an interesting fact in there, which is that... hang on, bear with me. Florence Nightingale, obviously known for medicine, also invented the pie chart.
Oh, I didn't know that. But, interesting enough, going back to what you, James, was saying, there was a black female nurse who didn't get the recognition for doing pretty damn similar work as Florence Nightingale. Oh. Unfortunately, I cannot remember her name because that's history for you.
Lord Nelson's doctor was a black woman.
Oh.
And unfortunately, I've mentioned her in a video. I can't think of her name right now. I think her first name was Cuba. You see, she was a former slave, but yes. And if you think about it, Nelson probably needed to be sewn up quite a few times. So let's assume she knew her job. Oh God, what limb have you lost this? What limb have you lost this week, Nelson?
Mary C. Cole. Sorry, I just googled it and it's Mary C. Cole.
Aha. And one thing I will throw out there goes back a little bit. But something that's come up before is science toys being in the quote-unquote boys section. And this is why I think that feminists should embrace the existence of the brony phenomena, because you break down the barrier, you help both sides, don't have a boys section, have a general toy children's section or a toy shop and have everything together. And if a boy wants My Little Pony, you can have My Little Pony. If a girl wants, a chemistry set or something, then let her have it. But don't have a great big pink corner.
Yeah.
Which
but this is twofold, though. It's to do with commercialism, because if you've got a brother and a sister of different ages, if you get them wanting different toys, so you don't hand me down the boy's toy to the girl.
Right.
The boy won't want the pink bike. The girl won't want the boy bike. I don't know, blue bike, I suppose. So you make this kind of thing so that, so they won't share, or you won't get a because once the girl, like say the girl's 4 years older than the boy, and she's got a pink bike. When she's outgrown it, because she's too tall, because it's a kid's bike, you can't always hand it down to the boy because he'll get teased for having a pink bike. So there is commercial reasons.
Well, the thing is, you can have that's what they want, but you can have, even if you really, I suppose, yes, in terms of children being teased, okay. Well, that ties in with both sexism and homophobia.
Well, yeah.
But you use bikes as an example, but of course it's not just the colour, because we have boys, it's whether there's a crossbar. But, which I never understood.
And also,
yes, girls don't wear ankle-length skirts anymore. Get over it.
Well, if you slip off your seat as a bloke, I don't think you really want a crossbar there.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
And the thing is, they genderifying products that aren't really gendered is it's been proven to be a better way to sell it.
Yeah.
In France, they
right.
had this toothpaste that was basically called. It was originally marketed as for the whole family, and then basically they discovered it wasn't selling as well as they'd expected. Right. So then they decided to make a for men or for women versions.
Yeah, but again, whilst we can, whilst it would be easy to vilify or demonize the manufacturers, the companies involved, the question is, why does this sell in the first place?
Well, we need to be looking at gender stereotypes in the first place. If there weren't these gender stereotypes, they wouldn't be getting away with it. They wouldn't be able to market it that way, because we'd think, what are you talking about? Toothpaste is toothpaste. I don't care if it's in a a pink tube or a blue tube. See, I got my blues and pinks confused there.
It's the new gender-neutral colour, magenta.
Blink.
Yeah, and to be honest, the whole concept of genderifying toothpaste is very foreign to me. I'm not sure if I've ever... Sorry?
It's utterly ridiculous.
I'm not sure if I've ever seen that happen here.
There was only this thing in France that was brought up. Though it happens with all sorts of products. There's men's razors and women's razors.
Yeah.
There's, all sorts of stuff. To shift the subject a little bit away from gender roles in general and going back to creating environments where children can study science, I'm thinking about that whole playing on the rocks thing, playing in the woods or whatever. And I'm thinking when I was a little kid, I remember one time I sealed a vial of my own urine up, and I wanted to see that if rolling it would affect the temperature. What?
In a jar?
It was like a little vial, but I had a little cork so it wouldn't spill out.
Did you throw it at someone?
Let him finish.
I was rolling it to see if it would affect the temperature and shaking it and whatever. And, I'm thinking about that one little thing with the girl hanging planets from her ceiling, and she says, don't you think this project has gone a little far? I mean, how much further would she be able to go if she were a boy? Would she be able to be throwing her own urine around? I don't know,
Yeah.
I have to admit, if I were a mother, I wouldn't want my boy or girl throwing their urine around.
Yes.
But that's the whole, I know where you're coming from, though. It is,
Yeah. So, maybe for the girl, the cutoff point was, don't go there, it's muddy, or, don't you think this little planet project has gone a little too far? For me, I could, play around with a vial of my own urine so long as I kept it contained. But, unfortunately, society did not really smile upon my lizard necromancy. We need to create an environment where, children are able to, fully manifest their curiosity. And, this reminds me of something Neil deGrasse Tyson said when asked about how can we get children more excited about about science. And he said something akin to, oh, no, I don't need to help get kids into science. We just need to stop parents from stopping them.
Exactly.
Which is very true,
Yeah.
Children are naturally curious, boys and girls alike. It's parents that stop the children, both boys, but especially girls, because they don't want these glittery balls all over her house, or have balls hanging over her head or whatever. Yes, who are indeed. When she showed a passion for astronomy, she was curious about nature, and she had everything she needed to be a great scientist or a great engineer. Well, engineers are scientists. But, the parents held her back. And, this goes towards all children, though I can see how this is especially relevant to females.
Okay.
I just want to say, yes, absolutely, children are born curious, and then society crushes it out of them. And yes, the point you were raising there, Koki. First of all, engineers are not scientists. Science is an investigative process. Engineering is
practical application.
Practical application. But the point that yes, she could have been she had the curiosity in astronomy. She wanted to make her own planetarium. She wanted to recreate the planets in her bedroom. I can just imagine her asking for a planetarium, asking her for a planetarium for Christmas. Oh no, get her one of the little mobiles that projects pretty ballerinas on the wall. It'll be the same thing, rather than projecting the stars onto the ceiling. And yes, a very real example of what we've been talking about tonight. My girlfriend, when she started studying geosciences, explaining to her mum, it's about climate and oceanography and weather patterns. Oh, so you want to be a weather girl?
Oh, dear.
Okay. Right. I think I'm going to go round and ask for everybody's final thoughts. So, again, going in the order in which I can see, Koki, your final thoughts and goodbye of all goodbyes.
Science. It's a girl thing. And may the omnipotent hamster of everything bless all of you and rest upon your heads.
Yeah, we brought that PSA up earlier.
Okay, Gunderson, final thought and goodbye.
Yep, I've said everything. As usual, said everything I want to say or can say. So, ta-ra, yous lot.
You, James, your final thought and goodbye.
Yes, it ultimately comes down to the fact that bigotry is at its most destructive when everyone agrees that it isn't bigotry, when it's so normal, so common that we don't even recognise its existence, let alone question it, when the people who actually bring this up are dismissed and condemned as radical, man-hating feminists, social justice warriors, or what have you. And the great holy donkey blesses you eternally as long as you open your minds.
And Dee, your final thought and goodbye.
Okay, my final thought is here to what you, James, just said. Gender stereotyping. Please stop doing it. Toodle pip, chin chin, and cheerio.
Okay, and my own personal final thought on the issue is my personal opinion is that something like integrating what we've thought of as boys' toys and girls' toys and things like, or indeed boys' films and girls' films, that annoys me even as a kid, actually, and all that sort of stuff. I think that kind of change, I know it's all part of the same thing, I think that kind of change is more effective than, say, ban bossy. That's just my personal opinion. And also, thank you to everybody who has ever appeared on London After Midnight. Thank you to anyone who has ever listened to London After Midnight, which may or may not be returning in some form or another at some point. But in the meantime, it's, good night, YouTube. Good night, everyone.